just as soon not be seen. Oops, turn off my mic. God, it's so loud.
That's how loud you are, Nancy. That's how loud you are, Nancy.
Are you good, Pat? We're set? All right. Pursuant to Section 5, Chapter 231, Public Law 1975, this is to state for the record that adequate notice of this meeting has been provided to the public by posting and maintaining the annual notice of regular meetings on the bulletin board of the municipal building, by mailing the annual notice of regular meetings for 2023 to the News Record and Star Ledger in December 2022, and by filing said notice in the office of the Township Clerk.
Mr. Adams.
Here.
Mr. DeLuca.
Here.
Sengel.
Here.
Mayor Daffis.
Here.
Whereas Chapter 231, Public Laws 1975, commonly known as the Open Public Convenience Act, requires all meetings of public bodies be open to the public. And whereas Section 7A provides that the governing body has the discretion to permit, prohibit, or regulate the active participation of the public at any meeting. And whereas desire of the governing body to comply with the provision of this act, same time to conduct its business in an orderly and expeditious manner. Now therefore be resolved by the Township Committee, Township Maplewood, does hereby prohibit, except as set forth in the formal agenda, active participation in deliberations of the governing body by the public, and except as otherwise prescribed by law, does limit the public to the observations of the actions and discussions of the governing body at all of its regular and special meetings.
So moved.
Second.
Adams.
Yes.
Mr. DeLuca.
Yes.
Yes.
Mayor Daffis.
Yes.
Thank you.
Please join us in a salute to the flag. Welcome, everyone. Please join us. Those of you who are here in person, you're welcome to come up closer to us if you like, or you can stay down there as you prefer. And welcome to those of you who are joining us online. This is Tuesday, October 17th. We have a nice agenda tonight. We're going to start with a couple of proclamations. October is Domestic Violence and Intimate Partner Violence Awareness Month, and October is also Fire Prevention Month. After that, we'll have our first of two public comment periods. Every committee meeting, we have two public comment periods. The first one is for agenda items only, limited to 3 minutes. Okay. And that will apply to people who are here in person and to those who are online. We have a couple of ordinances on final passage. These are continuations of previous meetings where they were introduced. We have a couple of ordinances on introduction. And then that brings us to administrative reports. We will start with our administrator, Mr. Wary, followed by Township Attorney Desiderio, followed by Township Clerk Fritzen. Reports from elected officials tonight will follow in the following order: Deputy Mayor Engel, Committee Member Kripe, Committee Member DeLuca, Committee Member Adams. I always go last. We have two discussion items tonight, one by Committee Member DeLuca and one by Deputy Mayor Engel. Our consent agenda has also been fully published as the rest of the agenda, and you can see those items for yourself there. Then we will have the second public comment period for any subject matter, also limited to 3 minutes. And then we will adjourn. Please note that though we meet usually on Tuesday nights at the same time, 7:30. Our next meeting will be on Wednesday, November 8th, not Tuesday, November 7th, because what's happening on Tuesday, November 7th?
Election day.
Election day. So we will be meeting on Wednesday, November 8th. First, we will start our meeting with the land acknowledgement in honor of Indigenous Peoples Day, which we have incorporated formally in the Township of Maplewood. We acknowledge that we live on stolen land, that the land we now occupy and know as New Jersey has been the home of the Lenape people for thousands of years. We offer respect to the Lenape people, and we acknowledge their forced diaspora from the region. And we acknowledge that the municipality was built on this small portion of the Lenape Hoking. We honor them in New Jersey and elsewhere for their environmental sustainability and their cultural resilience throughout our nation's history. And we firmly commit ourselves to promote their well-being and growth, including the well-being and growth of New Jersey's Indigenous communities, and to provide opportunities for Indigenous peoples in our community in housing, economic mobility, employment, and cultural or artistic opportunity. Thank you. We also want to honor someone we lost from the community, Carol Gilligan, the mother of one of our firefighters, Michael Gilligan, passed away on September 30th. Miss Gilligan resided in Maplewood for over 50 years with her family. She was an active member of the Chamber of Commerce and the Rotary Club. She was the manager of the Weichert Maplewood office of Weichert Realtors. And we just want to take a moment to pause, a moment of silence, and to keep the Gilligan family in our thoughts during this difficult period for them. Thank you. Okay, so our first proclamation tonight is Domestic Violence and Intimate Partner Violence Awareness Month, in honor of that month. And I have a proclamation somewhere here. I promise I have it. I just saw it. Here we go. So the United States Congress recognized October as National Domestic Violence Awareness Month back in 1989, October of 1989. Domestic violence is something that affects all people, regardless of age, socioeconomic status, orientation, race, religion, gender, or nationality. And it's a real concern even here in our township of Maplewood. On average, 20 people are physically abused by their intimate partner every minute. 20 people every minute, with 1 in 3 women and 1 in 4 men experiencing intimate partner violence in the United States. That includes physical injury, psychological trauma, economic abuse, and even death. In the United States, the National Coalition Against Domestic Violence estimates that more than 10 million adults experience domestic violence annually. From 2016 through 2018, the number of intimate partner violence victimizations in the country has increased exponentially by 42%. And on a typical day, domestic violence hotlines nationwide receive over 19,000 calls. And we know, as Committee Member Kripe, who is currently our Public Safety Committee Chair, can attest to, when we meet on a monthly basis with our public safety officials and we look at our stats, and a lot of our calls into dispatch are calls about domestic and intimate partner violence right here in Maplewood. It's the most common against women between the ages of 18 through 24. And we want to take this opportunity to acknowledge October in the year of 2023 as Domestic and Intimate Partner Violence Awareness Month, and want to raise awareness about it. And we want to encourage folks to get help. Please reach out to our Department of Health, which has a myriad of resources on our website. Please reach out to one of our social workers. We have 2 social workers. Many of the calls that they deal with, the intervention and support they provide are to victims, survivors of domestic and intimate partner violence in the township. Thank you. That's it about this proclamation. Our next proclamation is Fire Prevention Month. Committee Member Kripe.
Thank you, Mayor. In 1922, the National Fire Prevention Protection Association named the second week of October as Fire Prevention Week in commemoration of the Great Chicago Fire of 1871, which killed 300 people, left 100,000 people homeless, and burned 2,000 acres of land, almost the size of Maplewood. The National Fire Protection Association has chosen this theme for this year to be Cooking Safety Starts With You, as unattended cooking is the #1 cause of home fires. It's recommended by the National Fire Protection Association to always have a kid-free zone of at least 3 feet, keep pot handles turned towards the back of the stove, and always have a lid nearby when cooking. If a small grease fire starts, slide the lid over the pan and turn off the burner. Almost 3 of every 5 home fire deaths were due to the lack of smoke alarms or smoke alarms not properly maintained. Smoke alarm batteries should be changed every 6 months, and the devices should be replaced every 10 years. Carbon monoxide alarms should be checked every 6 months as well, and the devices should be replaced every 7 to 10 years. Every home should have a fire extinguisher, especially an ABC type, covering all types of fires, and it is recommended to check the fire extinguisher once a year, and the public should be aware that the average lifespan of a fire extinguisher is 10 to 12 years. It's also recommended, especially for multi-level dwellings, to explore the purchase of safety ladders to provide additional means of escaping a fire. Therefore, it be resolved on behalf of the mayor, Dean Daffis, and the Maplewood Township Committee, we proclaim that October is Fire Prevention Month. On behalf of the Township Committee, we implore citizens to explore and investigate their homes regarding fire safety measures and be proactive in prevention of fires. And if I could add also, our fire department, our South Essex Fire Department will be willing to go to your house and check on your various alarms and devices if you're unsure if your fire extinguisher has expired. Just reach out to the South Essex Fire Department and they will happily make an appointment for you.
Thank you, Committee Member Kripe, for that. And I believe we have a resolution that pertains to fire prevention about our Fire Prevention Bureau. I thought I saw that on here.
It's an ordinance.
It's an ordinance. That's right. Not a resolution. So, that's very relevant as well coming up in the agenda. Okay. Thank you. That's it for proclamations, public comment, first public comment period, agenda items only. We're going to start with anyone who's here with us in person. You're welcome to come on up to the mic, introduce yourself, your name, your address, and what agenda item you like to speak about. Anyone here in person? There, I see 2 folks. Not this one, the next public comment period, perhaps. We'll see. All right. That's fair. Seeing none in person, we'll move over to online folks. Mr. Wary.
If any members of the public on Zoom would like to speak in public portion, please raise your hand now.
For agenda items only.
For agenda items only.
Thank you.
Mayor, I see no hands.
Seeing none, we will close this public comment period. Moving right along. Ordinances on final passage. Item 7A, Ms. Fritzen.
Mayor, ordinance on final, ordinance 3106-23. It's an ordinance of the Township of Maplewood, County of Essex, State of New Jersey, amending Maplewood Code Chapter 209 to include the requirement for lead-based paint inspections. This ordinance will, in compliance with State of New Jersey law, set forth the requirements and procedures for lead-based paint inspections.
Thank you. This ordinance has been published, copies posted on the bulletin board in the municipal building, and copies made available to the general public in accordance with the law. We are amending our code in order to comply with state code. The state recent law requires these lead-based paint inspections on certain properties and homes of a certain age and period. And this is a final passage tonight, which means that the public gets the opportunity to comment about this ordinance before it is adopted into law. So I will open the public comment portion, and we'll start with folks who are here with us. Either of you interested in commenting about this? Okay, we will then transition to online folks.
If any member of the public would like to speak on this ordinance, please raise your hand now. I see no hands, Mayor.
Okay, we will close the public hearing. Can I get a motion?
I move this ordinance be adopted as a whole and the clerk be directed to publish the same as a passed ordinance in the Maplewood South Orange News Record according to law.
I second it.
Adam?
Yes.
Kripe?
Yes.
Mr. DeLuca?
Yes.
Engel?
Yes.
Mayor Daffis.
Yes. Item 7B.
Also on final, Mayor, Ordinance 3107-23 is an ordinance to amend Chapter 123 of the Code of the Township of Maplewood entitled Parks and Recreation Areas. This ordinance will revise the hours for use for fields, playgrounds, and courts within the Township of Maplewood.
This ordinance has also been published, copies posted on the bulletin board in the municipal building, and copies made available to the general public in accordance with the law. It also being on final passage triggers a public hearing. Any member of the public with us in person wish to comment on this? Okay, we'll transition to online.
If any member of the public on Zoom would like to speak on this ordinance, please raise your hand now. I see no hands, Mayor.
Okay, we'll close the public hearing. Any members of the Township Committee wish to comment about this? Committee Member DeLuca, did you want to say anything as the lead on this?
Not really.
Okay, that's fair enough. Just offering the opportunity. Can I get a motion?
I move this ordinance be adopted as a whole and the clerk be directed to publish the same as a passed ordinance in the Maplewood South Orange News Record according to law.
Second.
Ms. Adams?
Yes.
Ms. Cripe?
Yes.
Mr. DeLuca?
Yes.
Ms. Engel?
Yes.
Mayor Daffis.
Yes, motion carries. Item 7C.
Also on final, Mayor, ordinance number 3108-23 is an ordinance authorizing an emergency appropriation for the payment of updating the township master plan pursuant to NJSA 48-4-53. This ordinance will authorize payment for updating the township master plan via a special emergency appropriation.
Ordinance number 3108-23 has been published, copies posted on the bulletin board in the municipal building, and copies made available to the general public in accordance with the law. Either member of the public here with us wish to comment on this? Okay, seeing none, we will allow folks with us online to comment if they wish.
If any members of the public on Zoom would like to speak on this ordinance, please raise your hand now. I see no hands, Mayor.
Okay, we'll close the public comment. Any members of the Township Committee wish to comment about this? All right. I move this ordinance be adopted as a whole and the clerk be directed to publish the same as a passed ordinance in the Maplewood South Orange News Record according to law.
Second.
Ms. Adams?
Yes.
Ms. Cripe?
Yes.
Mr. DeLuca?
Yes.
Ms. Engel?
Yes.
Mayor Daffis.
Yes, thank you. We're moving over to introduction of new ordinances, item 8A.
Ms. Mayor, on introduction, ordinance 3109-23 is an ordinance to amend chapter 127 of the Code of the Township of Maplewood entitled Fire Prevention. The Township of Maplewood has joined the South Essex Fire Department. This ordinance will designate the Maplewood Fire Prevention Bureau as the local enforcing agent.
Get a motion?
I move the passage of this ordinance on first reading, its publication according to law in the Maplewood South Orange News Record, and a hearing to be held on Wednesday, November 8th, 2023.
A second?
Ms. Adams?
Yes.
Ms. Cripe?
Yes.
Mr. DeLuca?
Yes.
Ms. Engel?
Yes.
Mayor Daffis.
Yes. Item 8B.
Yes, Mayor. Also on introduction, 3110-23 is an ordinance to amend chapter 181 of the Code of the Township of Maplewood entitled Noise. This ordinance will change the hours of operation for construction-related work on Saturdays and Sundays.
Get a motion, Ms. Adams?
I move the passage of this ordinance on first reading, its publication according to law in the Maplewood South Orange News Record, and a hearing to be held on November 8th.
Second.
Ms. Adams?
Yeah.
Ms. Cripe?
Yes.
Mr. DeLuca?
Yes.
Ms. Engel?
Yes.
Mayor Daffis.
Yes, thank you, Ms. Fritzen. Moving over to administrative reports. Mr. Wary.
Thank you, Mayor. First, tying in with this month being Domestic Violence Awareness Month, we are in search of volunteers for our domestic violence response team. Anybody who's interested in that, that team provides support, referrals, education, safety planning, and other support services for people who are experiencing domestic violence. If you are interested, you'd have to be 21 years or older to participate, have access to transportation, and serve on an on-call basis. So anybody interested can reach out to Sergeant Connie Fields. She's the liaison for the response team. She can be reached at the police department by stopping in or email cfields@maplewoodnj.gov. Second, we have an affordable housing, two affordable housing units currently available, and there is a lottery that we're taking applications for both of those units. There is a one bedroom unit and a 1 3-bedroom unit that is available. The preliminary applications are due November 21st, and this is for a building on Springfield Avenue. And finally, on the agenda tonight is the appointment of an assistant business administrator for the township. We had gone through an exhaustive search. We received over 24 applications. We interviewed a dozen applicants, and we are happy to put forth Glashiber Jones as the assistant business administrator for the township. Ms. Jones is currently the head of HR for a school district in New Jersey. She's a great person, comes with a great deal of experience in this area, and will be a complement to the other individuals in the administration. So we are excited for her to start.
And we're excited for you to have some help.
Yes.
Yay.
And she is truly very impressive, and we're delighted that she accepted our offer. Looking forward to having her here. Any questions for Mr. Wary from the Township Committee?
Just on that, how are we doing that resolution?
There's a resolution before you tonight on consent agenda. There are two pieces of that resolution that are were left without information. First is her name, because she's letting her employer know today. So we will be filling that in with the name Glashiber Jones. The second is her start date. She's under contract and has to speak with her current employer about her start date here. So that start date will be to be determined. But all the other information regarding her appointment are included in that resolution that's on the consent agenda tonight.
Wonderful. Any questions?
No?
Congrats again.
Yes.
Regarding the two affordable units, is that information published on the township website?
It is, and we put it out in a few of the Wednesday community news emails as well.
Terrific. Okay, we'll move over to legal. Thank you again. Township Attorney Desiderio.
I have no report, Mayor.
Are there any questions for Mr. Desiderio from the Township Committee? Okay. Elizabeth Fritzen, Township Clerk.
Yes, Mayor, thank you. So I want to remind everyone who might be watching that today is the last day for voter registration, and the Office of Township Clerk is open and available for anybody to please come down up till 9 p.m. And it's a quite simple process to register to vote, and you will be eligible to vote in the November general election. So again, you have about an hour and 7 minutes to come on down. Thank you. But that's not all that I have.
I can hear the foot.
Okay, so I wanted to report that we have a wonderful volunteer appreciation night planned for Monday, October 23rd at the Woodland. And again, we're bringing this back after a 4-year hiatus due to mostly COVID. And the response is been picking up, and I think we're going to have a lot of people. And again, if for some reason you didn't know about it, you're listening tonight, you are a volunteer on one of our many, many boards and committees, you are more than welcome. Just contact me here at the town hall.
And we can also help you in that regard as liaisons to the different boards and committees. We can get the word out there, right?
You got the word out.
Yep, we've sending emails.
Got the word out.
Okay, excellent. We're excited to celebrate all of our wonderful residents who volunteer on our boards and committees.
Okay, I just want to mention too, obviously, Election Day, Tuesday, November 7th. So we're preparing for that as well. And our it's our 20th year of Veterans Day here at Maplewood Town Hall. And that is on Saturday, November 11th at 11 a.m. And just today, invitations went out to every veteran that we know about in Maplewood. So Again, everybody's welcome. It's a really great event. It's right in this room. It's a very moving event. And I keep saying it, it's my favorite event. And when it's on a Saturday, we have the full community band. We're already set up with them. And it'll be right here. My final report is that, I keep saying this, but we have event planning meetings every single week because we have that many events that are coming up. And again, this week we had 3 for activities that are coming up, large planning meetings. So just want to let you know that we make the effort in advance so that they are successful. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Fritzen. Any questions for our clerk from the Township Committee? Okay, we'll transition into reports from elected officials. Deputy Mayor Engel.
Thank you, Mayor. I have one report tonight, inspired by the public comment we've had and the emails we've received about bike paths and pedestrian safety. Mr. Wary and I have met to talk about next steps to relook at some studies that have done previously, and we're going to create a working group to start discussing about some of the challenges and paths forward. So for those of you who have spoken here or emailed, we have your contact information and you'll be hearing from me most likely. But if you are interested and you have not spoken here publicly or emailed, feel free to send me an email. Thank you.
That's great. Any questions for the Deputy Mayor?
Nope.
I think that's exciting. Thank you. And Mr. Martin Sepperly, it should be one of those folks, right? I think he started that charge.
Yep, he is on my list, as well as some of the other admins of the new group who is trying to promote bike lanes and safety in Maplewood and South Orange.
Fantastic. And I think there is an event being organized. Is that right, Ms. Fritzen? A bike lane awareness, biking awareness event?
That group is doing it, I believe, on October 21st.
Okay.
That was one of the planning meetings that we had this week too, Mayor.
Wonderful. Okay, great. Committee Member Kripe.
Thank you, Mayor. Just 2 things real fast. Again, a reminder with Fire Prevention Awareness Month, please make sure you've taken an opportunity to look at your own personal fire alarms as well as your carbon monoxide detectors. If you haven't changed the battery and you don't remember when you did it last, it probably means it's time. So please turn it. And also as a recommendation, pick a month, maybe your birthday month, and make that your marker for your 6 months. So 6 months at that time, and then 6 months after that, to replace it so that you make it a regular practice. We want to see everyone thrive and stay alive in their homes. Finally, the rec desk has already released information in regards to all the events that are coming up. But one in particular I wanted to point out was our ski club, which is finally up and running again. So applications are being taken now for that, as well as for chaperones. In years past, we've struggled with the ski club because we haven't had enough volunteers to help support the young people who are going out there and enjoying their times on the slope. So if you are interested, please know that you will actually be paid for. So as a skier, you would be able to ski for free. Consider that as a part of an incentive to volunteer and help support our kids and getting them outdoors during the colder months of the year. That's all I have for Mayor.
Thank you. Any questions for Committee Member Kripe? All right, we'll move over to Committee Member DeLuca.
Thank you, Mayor. Some years ago, we used to provide there were 2 bulk pickups, curbside bulk pickups in Maplewood. One was paid for by Waste Management as part of your quarterly fee, and one was paid for by the Township. Both of us agreed that we would end that, and we would end at curbside, and we would start at DPW, where we would have 2 dates a year where you could drop stuff off. And Waste Management agreed at the time that they would continue to pick up bulk items at the curb on however you wanted to do it. Put it out once a month. You could call them. I was contacted by a resident who wanted to put something out and called Waste Management and was told they had to pay $150 for this item. So we've asked Mr. Kittner, who deals with Waste Management, to speak to someone there to just get some clarity on this. But I just wanted to raise it here because I don't want our residents to have to pay extra. We pay enough for Waste Management already. And this was an agreement that we made with them. And if Mr. Kittner is not able to resolve it at his level, I'd like to have the committee support that Mr. Wary and Mr. Desiderio pick up the ball and speak to whoever has to get spoken to there to get this resolved.
Absolutely.
And that's my only item.
Okay. Any questions for Mr. DeLuca?
Nope.
And we have consensus on that?
Yes.
Yeah, definitely.
Excellent. Committee member Adams.
Thank you, Mayor. Just want a couple items. Painters in the Park, the Maplewood Memorial Park Conservancy is hosting that in Memorial Park. It is a Saturday, and every Saturday seems to rain lately, so hopefully it won't be. And
Bring your
I looked at
umbrella.
the weather, so.
It's going to rain.
Yeah.
Bring your umbrella.
Okay, try not to say that. Anyway, that's from 10 to 3 at Memorial Park. I'm sure they'll notify people online if it gets postponed. The second item is with regard to a meeting that the mayor and I had with a few residents and a couple of landscapers regarding their request for us to consider allowing the use of gas leaf blowers 3 times during the fall bulk, the main part of the leaf dropping 3 times per property in the township in order to help with their work. We met for quite a while. We listened, we answered questions. Mr. Wary was also with us in the meeting. And we promised that we would take it to our code committee and let our professionals who enforce our ordinances and our code to weigh in on that. Their response was that they didn't think it was something that would be possible for them to enforce. Logically thinking, it's hard enough to enforce this kind of ordinance, as has been proven out. We've been successful at doing so in Maplewood because we've been concentrating on it for 6 years. So we've had more success than some communities. However, the recommendations from our professionals is to not change the ordinance and not allow the use of gas-powered leaf blowers. And I agree with their assessment. We discussed it briefly at that meeting, and the feasibility of it just doesn't make sense. So I would like this committee's support in leaving the ordinance as it is, especially for this first full year of not allowing gas-powered leaf blowers. The Township of Montclair has followed our lead in doing so year-round in their municipality as well. This has been a long journey, but this is the direction that not only our community and many other communities that I've consulted with on this or consulted for on this, but the state and other states, the state of California. And it's something that's just something that I firmly believe that we need to at least give this ordinance a year, first of all, to assess whether or not there are things we may or may not need to change about it. I also strongly believe that this is a piece of equipment that is dirtier than most pieces of equipment as our planet continues to be on fire every summer, literally and figuratively, that we should be moving away from fossil fuels. And the dirtiest of those engines is this 2-stroke engine. So I would like to keep this ordinance intact for this year. We can revisit it if there are problems to look at next year. But I think it's a solid ordinance that we have worked for 7 years on. And I think not without a lot of work and a lot of thought and a lot of discussion. So that's my report if anyone wants to discuss.
Yeah, I'll open up. Is there any discussion on this topic?
I have a discussion.
Please.
I'm just going to say I support you and agree about a year because I believe that we need to go through a whole year before we can see what does need to be changed on the cycle of things. But I just want to ask, before I was on Township Committee, I remember watching these meetings and I remember there being some talk about incentives or financial grants or some kind of thing to help landscapers to be able to change, because it is changing their business model when you're changing the equipment. And I was just curious if we've done any work on a state level to see if there is any kind of funding available to help our small businesses through the NJEDA, or if there's anything to do with any of our representatives to talk about this issue as we're trying to battle climate change and make people healthier, if there's any funding available to help small businesses who are having to change out their equipment.
Yeah, I mean, definitely the EDA is making grants available to small businesses in a wide variety of spaces or categories, rather. I'm not aware of anything specific to this, but certainly we can explore that. Yeah, certainly.
Okay, so perhaps Ms. Adams and I can talk offline to figure out the best way to start seeing how we might be able to help our local businesses make the change.
Yeah, I would just add to that while transitioning, obviously, I mean, Township has done it itself through attrition when we needed to replace blower over the last 6 years. We've done so with battery. We've also amended the amount of places that we use it. In our discussion with the landscapers, there is a practice. They need to change the way they train their workers into using a blower of any kind. But in particular, a battery blower, in order to save power, to not go full throttle from one end of the property to the other, but to be more thoughtful about how to do that. But ultimately, as the mayor and I have both, at least, and Ms. Kripe now with our electric vehicles, have found out that there is a huge savings going forward in the cost of doing business when you get rid of maintenance, gas, oil, and that needs to be done with those machines versus others. So I'm just, we can look into it totally. We did try to get something done with Home Depot.
And they gave those
a few years ago. And, but yeah, there's not a lot of incentives, although I feel like I just heard about one, but I'll have to look back in my notes to see if I have that. But
yes, my point is that we are elected officials, and perhaps we can start making change so that there are financing available for these small businesses, because having run a small business, I'm sorry, our budgets of small businesses are smaller than the township budget. Margins are smaller. And I think you're not thinking about the upfront cash you might need to totally change your business model and change your staffing and change out your equipment. And these small businesses don't have the cash flow to be able to do it. And you're talking about training. And I don't see us providing training or providing assistance with getting training or doing any of that. And there's just a heavy lift for small businesses who are trying to do their job and who are also, trying to pay their employees and trying to make money and support their families. And we just have to think about their economics, because it's different than a municipal. It's different than a big corporation. It's a small business.
Yeah, absolutely.
Makes sense.
No controversy there. Absolutely. In fairness, the landscapers that we met with who are asking for relief, financial incentives wasn't part of the relief that they were asking. It was more about the practicality of a ban during the heavy leaf season. The practicalities of it on the ground, certainly as it relates most especially to the bigger properties in the township where there are heavier volumes of trees, of trees and therefore leaves, and how you move them. And it's going to take longer time and require more batteries that are more expensive, and so on and so forth. So
not to cut you off, but right. So if they had a financial assistance and able to hire more people to help and to be able to buy equipment, they might be able to plan better for the heavy leaf blowing season to be able to do that, right? So I hear what you're saying. That's not what they're asking for, but I'm just trying to think about what we can do proactively.
Sure. And I've already said that I agree with you, Miss Engel. And I think we all feel that way. Like if we can help our small businesses provide incentives, we will. I will add, since I was in that meeting, that we also promised that, we will make adjustments as necessary after we see what happens this season. It's the first time.
Right.
It's the first time. So if we need to make adjustments during the leaf season or provide the relief that's been asked for, we will do that. right? We'll have to talk about it further with code enforcement because code enforcement, as committee member Adams reported, found initially that it would be very difficult for them to enforce the relief that's been requested, but more to be determined as we see things materialize out there in practice. Anything else? Anyone else want to add?
Yeah, I would just like to, I'm not interested in making any changes in 2023. So the only thing that I would consider is based on 2023, if we want to make changes in 2024,
Right.
I don't think we should. All this is speculation.
Yeah.
And so let's see what happens and we'll balance it.
Right.
We do every other decision.
Like we do every other deciation. Right.
And I
It's
would,
an ordinance. It could be amended based on evidence.
yep. And I would also, just to add, as far as expectations from the vendors, not the vendors, but the consumers, that not every single leaf that lands on your lawn needs to be blown off. Sometimes you can just let it lie. So our expectations, I think, need to come down to be a lot more realistic. And hey, if you have to mulch, mulch. It's not the end of the world. And if anything, it's actually better.
Right. Okay. I think we covered that for now and more on that this fall and winter. Okay. I think I'm up next and I only have one item actually, I have two items to report. Halloween parade is back in the village again this year. So on October 31st, 3 to 5 in Maplewood Village, come on out. Adults and young ones and everybody is welcome. It's a free event and a really fun event.
Costumes.
And I have one other item we talked about in our committee, our committee on entrepreneurship and economic development. We talked about marketing our town as a foodie town. As one of the things we want to do to better market Maplewood as a destination to work and play and spend money. And we decided in the committee that marketing our town as a foodie town would be one of the easier things to get started. And we asked our administrator to look into folks here locally and check in with other municipalities that do this to let us know how to go about doing that. Mr. Wary, did you want to add anything about that?
No updates on that, Mayor.
Okay. And Mr. DeLuca, did you want to add anything?
No.
This was your idea?
Nope, we're good.
Microbrewery.
Okay.
Can we place requests?
All right. Yeah, we have some really cool restaurants all around town coming in, and it's a really a great thing to market more of. All right, discussion items. The first discussion item is committee member DeLuca's.
Thank you, Mayor. So I sent a memo around about this ETAN Alternative Treatment Center. We approved them under the old ordinance, which deals with medical cannabis facilities. So I when I was mayor in 2019, I provided a letter of endorsement. That was our process then. Mayor Frank McGehee provided a second letter of endorsement in 2021 when the site was identified, which is the former Dunkin' Donuts on Springfield Avenue. Then in March of this year, the organization ETAN came before the Springfield Avenue Partnership for its design permits. There were construction permits taken out, and then we haven't heard anything. And the building sits there. There's still a for rent sign on the building. It looks like no one wants the building. There are trucks parking there. We need to get this resolved. So when we brought it up at Committee on Entrepreneurship and Economic Development, we suggested to bring it up here and to request that representative from ETAN come before us and justify why we should continue to endorse their application to be located here. So if we're willing to do that, then I think, Mr. Desiderio, you could contact their attorney and have that happen.
Sure. What date would you like to move here? November.
I would say as soon as possible.
Sure.
Next meeting.
Shoot for the 8th.
Sure. November 8th. Yep. Does that work for everybody?
Sure.
Sure.
Okay.
That's all I have on that one.
Great. And then the second item is Deputy Mayor Engels, a resolution to in response to an acknowledgement of the terrorist attack against Israel. Deputy Mayor Engel?
Yes, I sent around a resolution today because everything happening in Israel is greatly affecting the Jewish community. And I know there have been more attacks and more deaths today. And I don't want to get into the politics of it all, but I really feel like it's important for us as a township committee. We made a statement after they happened condemning the terrorist attacks. And I felt like it was important to show our Jewish community who is hurting and grieving that we stand against terrorist attacks and that we are in support of Israel's right to defend themselves. So I will read this into record of what
You proposed.
what I proposed. Whereas on October 7, 2023, Hamas terrorists crossed into Israel and began slaughtering Israelis and abducting hostages in towns in southern Israel, including children, the disabled, and elderly adults. Whereas the attack took place during the Jewish holiday of Simchas Torah. Whereas more Jewish people were killed during the October 7, 2023 assault than in any single day since the end of the Holocaust. Whereas thousands of civilians have died in Israel and Palestine. Whereas the UN says about 1 million Palestinians who fled their homes are in urgent need of food, water, and fuel. Now, therefore, be it resolved on behalf of Mayor Dean Daffis and the members of the Maplewood Township Committee that 1, we unequivocally condemn the horrific terrorist attacks and violence of Hamas against innocent Israeli civilians. We stand by Israel in their right and duty to defend itself against acts of terror. We call Israel and the neighboring Arab nations to take every possible step to avoid civilian casualties and act within international law in its response. We call our representatives in Congress and in the United States Senate to work with the Biden administration and international organizations to create a humanitarian corridor in Gaza so that innocent civilians may have access to water, food, medical aid, and temporary shelter. We stand with the people of Israel and all of our Jewish family and friends here in Maplewood, our neighboring towns, and around the world. A copy of the resolution should be mailed to the offices of our congressional representatives and in the United States Senate.
Thank you. I'll open it up for discussion. Any comments?
I would like it to be noted that Pakistan has been under apartheid since 1947. And although I do not agree with terrorism, it is awful and no one should have to deal with any of that bullying garbage. The fact that we're not making any recognition towards our Pakistani and our Arab residents and neighbors and friends and family who've been suffering for decades under the general ignorance or just general purposeful ignorance of how they have been treated in their own region, in their own state, by the UN and global entities around the world. I just want to make that noted. I do not have a problem with this resolution other than the fact that there is no mention of Pakistan and the Arabs who live there and how they've been suffering for a very, very long time.
I think you meant Palestine, right?
Palestine, sorry, Palestine. My apologies.
I just want to note that, and we kind of talked about this a little bit, that this is one of the reasons why our Jewish community is saying that nobody's listening and everybody's silent is because there's a but. Yes, terrorism is horrible, but. So the Jewish people, generation after generation, were slaughtered. It's what's in our bones. We know it. And the response to say, oh, yeah, that was a terrorist act and I'm against it, but.
It is a both and situation. It's not one or the other. It's a both and. And yes, I understand.
I've been learning to center the voices of people who are oppressed. And I don't feel like Jewish voices are being centered right now because there's a but. And I feel like we are hurting. We have family, we have friends, we have camp counselors, we have preschool teachers who are in Israel who are devastated against this terrorist attack. And it was a terrorist attack. Done. There's no but Israel politics, but this, but that.
Exactly.
It's a terrorist attack that we're condemning. And that's what it's saying. It's saying we condemn that, we don't want all of these people to die. We want humanitarian aid.
Absolutely. But it also needs to make mention of the Arabs who fell under the same thing because the but has been going on since the 40s. And prior to
So I'm sorry, Ms.
As an oppressed person as well. Hello, African-American female. Can't get more oppressed than that. There is no justification for it on either side. And yes, Israel is having a horrible time and has been handed horrible things repeatedly, but that's on our leadership, that's on Israel, not Israel, that's on the UN. We have allowed this stuff to go on for so long and then just let brown people kill other brown people, because that's what we are. There's no value there. If there was oil there, if there was gold there, if there were diamonds there, we wouldn't be in this situation right now. But if
So-
the only thing of value there is brown people.
So can I jump in here for a minute?
Yes, please, Mayor.
First of all, I just want to acknowledge that this dialogue is very healthy. It's very healthy. This is exactly what this is about, right? And I also want to acknowledge that the emotions are very healthy too. This is a terrible time in the world right now. As it relates to the resolution itself, the four corners of the resolution, and I acknowledge your position, Committee Member Kripe, and I don't disagree with you when it comes to the human rights abuses that have been reported and documented and the apartheid of the current Israeli government.
The leaders. It's not the Israeli people, it's the leaders.
Right.
And they're
I
suffering.
do think
because
that the
of-
resolution, I have a couple of comments I want to make. I think the resolution is carefully worded in that it does make reference to Israel and Arabs not further slaughtering innocent civilians.
None.
It says that. It also acknowledges the isolated people who are caught in the crossfire in Gaza by demanding swift action towards a humanitarian corridor. But I do think that as a governing body, we also have to meet the moment. And the moment right now is to acknowledge that this terrorist attack should be condemned. And that's what the resolution does. And of course, the politics and the governments and the long history in the region is what it is. But I think our resolution is carefully worded to really meet the moment and acknowledge the suffering of innocent civilians, Arabs, Jews, and others in the region. So I think we can get to a consensus on the resolution unless I'm not reading the room correctly. Committee Member DeLuca, did you want to add any comments?
Yeah. So I support the resolution as it's written. I would not support the inclusion of the word apartheid and nor would I call Israel a terrorist. I think that this is a situation where people were attacked and this was not attack against the military, this is attack against civilians.
Yeah.
And that's what terror is. The whole point is to try to create panic and terror so that people are afraid, and it worked. And it was horrible. And I think that there are instances when we have been attacked, and we had the World Trade Center, and we justified our response. And I think Israel is justified in a measured response. We heard a horrible story today of the hospital being bombed. We don't know who did it. Everyone's claiming the other one did it. There are going to be additional horror stories as this goes on, the longer this goes on. There are 200 hostages. We don't know what's going to happen with them. So I don't want to do an equivalency here.
Yes, exactly.
I do want to point out that I believe there should be a two-state solution. Always did. I think people have a right to their place.
Absolutely.
I disagreed with some of the expansion that Israel took on. I have difficult time with their prime minister and some of his actions, but that doesn't matter. That's the politics of it, and I'm going to continue to believe that, and continue to when given the opportunity to say, let's try to promote peace and let's try to do a two-state solution, and let's not take it. One of the beacons of democracy in the world and make it more repressive, which I think they were doing by, declawing the clerk, the court and all that they were trying to do. So I want to continue to have that conversation, but I want to be clear right now in saying that I stand with Israel and I support this resolution because I think we have to speak up. I think people in our community, people in our country are looking for allies. We talk a lot about being allies. And this is a time I think we have to be an ally. And so I support the resolution as written. And that's where I am.
I support the resolution as written. I think it's carefully worded. Thank you for your efforts. Committee Member Adams, would you like to add some comments?
Yeah, I agree with Mr. DeLuca in the way he phrased this out. I agree. I also think we need to remember, first of all, unfortunately, I don't think this is a conflict that's going to go away anytime soon. And I suspect that we will, as it evolves, as our president bravely goes into the second war zone of the year as president. I think I'm very grateful, not to get into support of Biden or not. I'm incredibly grateful for his long experience and being able to go in and take care of this where I don't think a lot of people would have. That said, I think we don't know. We have a far right prime minister in Israel right now, and that's a problem. But I feel like we need to separate in our minds the thoughts between the difference between the Palestinian people and the Israeli people and who their current leadership is. Right now, Palestinian people's leadership has been taken over by a terrorist organization.
Yeah.
They run that country right now. So that's not to say that the 2 million people in Gaza, that's why it's so heartbreaking. That's why we're all, left-wing, peace-loving people. We just don't get it. This kind of thing, it always comes down to really basic emotions for me of, I just don't understand. So, but I think we'll have an opportunity because I agree with Ms. Kripe as well on that, but I don't want to dilute this resolution at this moment. I think we'll probably have time for supporting other.
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
So that's my.
Did you want to add anything else?
No, I just want to thank you, Ms. Adams, and you, Mr. DeLuca, for your kind words, and let everyone know that even though Ms. Kripe and I might disagree on some things or have a healthy debate, we are still good friends, and we'll smile and hug when this is over.
Yes. So I'm going to move the resolution. Is there a second?
Second.
Ms. Adams?
Yes.
Ms. Kripe?
Yes.
Mr. DeLuca?
Yes.
Bengel?
Yes.
Mayor Daffis?
Yes. Okay. If only, I hope people in Congress are watching us right now. This is how it's done.
Yep.
If only they would do the same. Okay.
Can't get a speaker though, so.
So we have a consent agenda, items 13A through 13T. T like Tom includes the resolution we just voted on. I will move the consent agenda. Do I have a second?
Second.
Ms. Adams?
Yes.
Ms. Kripe?
Yes.
Yes.
Ms. Bengel?
Yes.
Mayor Daffis?
Yes, thank you. This brings us to our second and final public comment period for any subject matter. Mr. Ware, you want to take over? We don't have anyone here in person anymore, so we will be limited to online folks.
Any members of the public on Zoom would like to speak, please raise your hand. I see no hands raised, Mayor.
No hands raised tonight. Okay, well, this is a record.
Is
Yes,
this an hour?
we will close the public comment period, and I move that we adjourn and meet again on Wednesday, November 8th.
I move we end before 9:30. Second.
Second.
Ms. Adams?
Yeah.
Yes.
Mr. DeLuca?
Yes.
Bengel?
Yes.
Mayor Daffis?
Yes, thank you all for joining us. Good night.